The quantum resonance died partat, 1437. Galactic Standard Time on a Tuesday that would never end. Admiral Pexthane Gralix watched from the bridge of the dreadnought Cosmic Silence as Earth's final transmission cut through subspace. Not with the chaotic static of communications failure, but with the absolute void that only comes when matter itself is unmade. 10 billion human minds, all connected through their primitive neural networks, had simply stopped. Confirmation. Weapons Coordinator Ulmfex, Gralix commanded, his biomechanical implants shifting from amber to satisfied crimson. Planet Killer. Deployment successful, Admiral. Core destabilization achieved total molecular dissolution in 0.047 seconds. The human contamination has been sterilized. Ulmfex's throat sacs pulsed with professional pride. Standard extinction protocol completed ahead of schedule. Gralix nodded, his attention already shifting to the next system on their purification list. Earth had been the 59th world they'd cleansed this cycle, another dangerous species. Eliminated before their chaos could metastasize beyond their birth system. The Vrextai Imperium had perfected this process across 4 million years. Identify emerging sapients with disruptive potential, evaluate their threat coefficient, and execute planetary sanitization before they achieved interstellar capability. Humans had scored a troubling 9.2 on the chaos probability matrix. Their scientific methods, while primitive, showed dangerous creative leaps. Their cultural structures demonstrated alarming adaptive capacity. Most concerning, their philosophical frameworks contained concepts that shouldn't exist in species below Tier 6 development, ideas about individual worth, artistic expression, and something they called righteous fury. Better to silence them, now than face complications later. Sir? Communications specialist Hepvarin interrupted. We're detecting irregular energy signatures. Specify. The bridge's tactical lighting shifted to alert amber as data cascades flooded the displays. Quantum fold signatures consistent with jump drives. Multiple contacts approaching from 17 different vectors. Gralix felt his internal regulators stutter. Impossible. We confirmed complete biosphere termination. Affirmative, sir. But these signatures, they're not originating from Earth's location. The tactical display erupted with contact markers, dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of approaching vessels. Each signature was compact, roughly equivalent to the Imperium's courier-class scouts, but their energy outputs defied physics. No ship that size should generate such power without consuming itself in fusion fire. Analysis indicates autonomous operation, Ulmfex reported, his earlier satisfaction curdling into confusion. But their quantum matrices display human computational patterns. Gralix stared at the display, watching the approaching swarm. Each vessel bore markings in human script, designations and symbols that resisted the Imperium's translation algorithms. Earth's last promise, Mumbai's children, the calculation of tears, humanity's final answer. How many humans achieved off-world evacuation before sterilization? Gralix demanded. Intelligence estimated fewer than 60,000 across scattered research stations and deep space colonies, Hepvarin replied. Negligible population for species continuation. The first wave of human vessels dropped out of quantum fold at the system's periphery, and suddenly space filled with coordinated transmissions. Not the panicked chatter Gralix expected from a traumatized species, but something far more chilling. Perfect synchronization across thousands of individual voices, all broadcasting the same message in flawless Vrextai standard. You silenced. 10 billion voices. We cataloged every name. We archived every dream. We preserved every word you tried to erase. This is not warfare. This is mathematics made manifest. The transmission paused, then continued with mechanical precision. We are the remainder of a division problem. You are the divisor. We will solve for zero. As the human fleet closed distance, Gralix's sensors detected something that turned his circulatory fluid to ice. Each approaching vessel was broadcasting detailed passenger manifests, not crew complements, but cargo loads. Thousands of humans per ship, all in cryogenic suspension. The surviving 60,000 hadn't fled to safety. They had spent every resource, every favor, every fragment of their dying civilization on a single purpose, gathering the scattered diaspora and converting them into guided ordnance. The humans weren't approaching to negotiate or fight. They were approaching to deliver themselves as mathematically precise weapons. "Sir," Olmfex's voice carried disbelief. "Long-range scans indicate these vessels have been completely restructured. No life support systems, no defensive capabilities, no weapons. Just propulsion, targeting computers, and—" He paused, checking his readings. "And what appears to be detailed databases containing the personal information of every human who died on Earth." Gralix realized with growing horror that they hadn't eliminated humanity's capacity for interstellar warfare. They had catalyzed it. The scattered survivors hadn't grieved. They had calculated. They had converted their species' extinction into an equation that demanded solution. As the first human ships entered engagement range, their synchronized broadcast resumed. "We are the arithmetic of extinction. Every ship contains exactly 3,147 humans who volunteered to become mathematics. We will solve the equation you created when you chose to make 10 billion equal 0. The tactical display continued updating. 78,000 human vessels confirmed, with more still translating into normal space. And according to deep-range sensors, each ship was accompanied by detailed biographical data about its passengers, names, ages, professions, dreams, fears, the complete catalog of lives deliberately sacrificed for the precision of vengeance. Gralix understood now that the Vrextai Imperium faced something unprecedented in 4 million years of galactic sterilization. A species that had weaponized their own extinction and turned grief into guided missiles. The humans had become mathematics with wings and fire, and they were coming to balance the equation. War Marshal Kex Dalian Vorthek had overseen the extinction of 37 different civilizations during her 4th-century career, each elimination executed with clinical precision and minimal resource expenditure. Her strategic doctrine was elegant in its simplicity. Overwhelming force applied at critical infrastructure nodes, resulting in complete species termination within 72 hours. Now she faced something that violated every principle of military logic, an extinct species conducting coordinated offensive operations. "Fleet composition analysis complete, War Marshal," reported her tactical coordinator, Jinthek Morales. 2.4 million human vessels confirmed across 12 engagement zones. Each ship appears to be a converted civilian craft, cargo, haulers, research platforms, even recreational vehicles designed for leisure activities. Vorthek studied the holographic battle space, her neural implants processing tactical data at superhuman speeds. The human fleet stretched across 4 astronomical units, a vast constellation of tiny ships that pulsed with barely contained energy. Weapon systems analysis? That's where the situation becomes problematic, War Marshal. They possess no conventional armaments whatsoever. Clarify. Morales manipulated the display, highlighting individual vessels. Each ship has been converted into what can only be described as a kinetic projectile. They've removed life support, communications, everything except propulsion and targeting systems. Ma'am, they've transformed their entire surviving population into ammunition. The implications struck Vorthek like physical trauma. In 4 centuries of xenocide, she had never encountered a species willing to weaponize its own extinction. The logistics alone were staggering, convincing nearly 3 million humans to enter ships designed for destruction, coordinating across dozens of star systems while their homeworld burned, maintaining perfect operational security while their species faced annihilation. Incoming transmission from the human formation, Communications Officer Zed Kamar announced. The main display shifted, revealing a human face, male, middle-aged, with cybernetic implants that suggested extensive neural modification. When he spoke, his voice carried the mathematical precision of someone who had replaced emotion with calculation. I am Fleet Coordinator Rilvan Ashkor, commanding the Terra Memorial Armada. I address Kex Dalian Vorthek, Architect of Silence, Curator of Empty Worlds. The human's pronunciation of Vrextai nomenclature was flawless, indicating comprehensive linguistic study. You eliminated our homeworld believing you faced a standard extinction scenario. Your assessment was incomplete. Vorthek activated her response channel. Human entity, you command improvised civilian vessels against the most sophisticated military apparatus in galactic history. Your grief has induced tactical dementia. Ashkor's expression remained unchanged. War Marshal, we have spent the last 21 months since Earth's murder conducting exhaustive analysis of Vrextai military doctrine. We studied the elimination of 36 previous civilizations, analyzed your tactical preferences, cataloged your logistical vulnerabilities. Most crucially, we identified your fundamental strategic weakness, which is, you have never fought. An enemy that has already accepted defeat as victory. The human fleet began moving, not in the chaotic rush Vorthek expected, but in precise geometric formations that spoke of sophisticated coordination. Each ship followed flight paths, calculated, to maximize gravitational assistance from the system's celestial bodies, building velocity while minimizing energy expenditure. Ma'am, Morales reported, they're not approaching for conventional engagement. They're establishing collision trajectories with our entire fleet structure. Vorthek felt her confidence fracture. All vessels, implement evasive protocols, maintain defensive formation integrity. The Vrextai fleet, 300 heavily armed dreadnoughts supported by 1,200 escort vessels, began executing standard dispersal maneuvers. But as they moved, the human swarm adapted, each tiny ship adjusting its trajectory with mechanical precision. War Marshal, Zed Kamar's voice carried notes of disbelief. The humans are broadcasting detailed passenger information from each vessel. Personal histories, biographical data, final messages. Ma'am, there are entire families aboard those ships, multi-generational groups. The realization struck Vorthek like absolute zero. The humans weren't simply using their population as weapons. They were ensuring the Vrextai understood exactly what they were destroying. Every impact would carry not just kinetic energy, but the documented weight of individual human lives deliberately sacrificed for mathematical vengeance. Fire control. Target approaching vessels. Maximum dispersal pattern. Continuous barrage. The Vrextai fleet's weapon systems opened fire, particle streams and plasma charges reaching across space to intercept the human swarm. Ship after ship vanished in brilliant detonations, their crews and passengers dying in calculated silence. But for every vessel destroyed, 2 more adjusted course to fill the tactical gap. Ma'am, Morales' voice carried growing alarm, the humans are using our weapons fire to optimize their approach vectors. They're learning from each ship we destroy, refining the survivors' flight paths in real time. Ashkor's voice returned to the communication channel. War Marshal, you're wondering why we broadcast our casualties so prominently. The answer is simple. Every human who dies here dies with mathematical purpose. Every name we announce represents another debt added to your ledger. We want you to understand that we're not victims anymore. We're auditors, and the accounts must balance. The first wave of human ships reached optimal range, and Vorthek discovered the true horror of fighting an enemy that had industrialized despair. The humans didn't seek victory through traditional means. They sought equilibrium through arithmetic. 10 billion of their people had died. Now they would deliver exactly 10 billion units of retribution, measured in the mass of their own bodies, converted to kinetic mathematics. As the first impacts began hammering her flagship's defensive systems, Vorthek realized she faced something the Vrextai Imperium had never encountered in 4 million years of galactic sterilization, a species that had converted grief into geometry and turned extinction into exact science. Captain Nex Goth Valorian commanded the super-dreadnought Inevitable Dominion, equipped with adaptive defensive matrices capable of deflecting anything short of stellar collapse. He had witnessed the sterilization of entire civilizations without experiencing more than professional interest in tactical efficiency. Now, as human vessels impacted his shields with the precision of weaponized mathematics, he encountered something alien to his experience: genuine fear. Defensive integrity at 68%, reported his systems coordinator, Velcarix Nemor. The human impacts are mathematically optimized, sir. Each vessel achieves maximum kinetic transfer upon contact. They're not simply colliding with us. They're solving physics equations with their deaths. Valorian studied the tactical projection, watching another wave of converted civilian craft approach his vessel. Each ship broadcast its contents with disturbing detail. Transport Memorial of Lagos carrying 4,123 passengers, ages spanning 6 months to 97 years. Professions include quantum theorists, fusion technicians, artists whose final works calculated the mathematics of extinction. Why do they announce their casualties during approach? Valorian demanded. Analysis suggests weaponized psychology, Nemor replied. They want us to acknowledge the human cost of each kinetic impact. The broadcast continued. Leading the volunteer. Crew. Xylan Meredith, age 38, father of 3 children who will never see graduation. Kalen Thorne, age 24, who composed symphonies that no one will ever hear again. Jorik Castellan, age 14, whose parents promised her she could become anything before your weapons converted them to plasma. Valorian felt his mandible equivalence click involuntarily. In 5 centuries of military service, he had never heard enemy forces personalize their losses during active combat. The humans were forcing the Vrextai to acknowledge each death as individual tragedy rather than statistical attrition. Captain, his intelligence officer interrupted. We're receiving strategic data from Fleet Command. The human tactical doctrine is becoming clear. The main display shifted to show the broader engagement across multiple star systems. Human vessels were sacrificing themselves against Vrextai formations with mathematical precision, but they weren't distributing their attacks randomly. Each ship targeted specific systems, specific vulnerabilities with surgical accuracy. They're conducting live fire analysis, Valorian realized. Every ship that dies transmits impact data to survivors. They're learning how to destroy us more efficiently with each suicide run. The next wave of human vessels approached, and their broadcast chilled his circulatory system. We have analyzed the destruction of Transport Memorial of Lagos, shield harmonic frequencies recorded, structural weakness patterns identified. This information has been distributed to all remaining vessels. Thank you for teaching us how to kill you more effectively. Inevitable Dominion shuddered as 5 ships struck simultaneously, each impact precisely calculated to create resonance cascade failures in the defensive matrix. Valorian watched his protection readings plummet as the humans applied lessons learned from their own deaths. Engineering reports critical system failures in sectors 12 through 18, Nemor announced. The humans are targeting specific component nodes. Sir, they possess detailed technical schematics of our ship architecture. The realization struck Valorian like kinetic impact. The humans hadn't spent the 21 months since Earth's destruction morning. They had been studying every fragment of Vrextai technology they could access, every tactical engagement they could analyze, every vulnerability they could identify. They had converted their grief into the most comprehensive intelligence operation in galactic history. Incoming priority transmission from War Marshal Vorthek, his communications officer reported. The War Marshal's image appeared, her bioluminescent patches flickering with stress indicators. All vessels, implement Protocol Omega-7. Prepare for strategic withdrawal. War Marshal, we've never retreated from primitive species. Examine your casualty projections, Captain. Valorian accessed the fleet status display and felt his blood temperature drop. In 8 hours of engagement, the humans had destroyed or disabled 63 Vrextai vessels, not through superior technology or advanced weaponry, but through the systematic application of physics and unlimited willingness to die. Sir, Nemor reported, long-range sensors detect additional human fleets approaching from 24 different vectors. Estimated combined strength, over 5 million vessels. 5 million ships? Impossible. Intelligence indicated only 60,000 surviving humans. Sir, the approaching vessels are broadcasting passenger manifests. They're not exclusively crewed by survivors from the initial diaspora. These ships contain humans who have been in cryogenic suspension for decades. Colonists, researchers, explorers who were already in deep space when Earth was sterilized. The survivors haven't just converted themselves into weapons, they've recalled every human in the galaxy. Valorian stared at the display, comprehension dawning with terrible clarity. The humans had achieved something unprecedented. They had established species-wide consensus on a single objective. Every surviving member of their race, regardless of location or circumstance, had agreed to convert themselves into instruments of mathematical vengeance. "They're not conducting warfare," he whispered. "They're performing an audit. They want to determine exactly how many of them died, and they're going to deliver precisely that many deaths in return." Another wave of human ships approached, their broadcast cutting through tactical communications. "We are the mathematics of extinction made manifest. You eliminated 10 billion of us. We will eliminate 10 billion of you. This is not negotiable. This is not warfare. This is arithmetic with propulsion systems and targeting computers." As his shields failed completely and human vessels began impacting his hull directly, Valorian realized that the Vrextai Imperium had committed a fundamental error. They had assumed extinction was an ending. For humanity, it had been a mathematical transformation. The conversion of grief into kinetic energy, the translation of loss into precise retribution. The humans had become physics itself, and they were solving the equation of revenge with their own bodies as variables. Supreme Overlord Gex Thane Maleficus ruled from the Mobile Command Citadel Eternal Supremacy, a vessel equivalent in mass to a terrestrial moon that had overseen the extinction of 947 different species. His reign had spanned 23,000 years, built on the fundamental principle that chaos must be eliminated before achieving metastasis. Now, observing his forces disintegrate before an enemy that treated death as computational resource, he confronted the first existential threat to Vrextai dominance in 4 million years. "Strategic assessment complete, Supreme Overlord," reported his Chief Intelligence Coordinator, Pix Maranthisian. "The human response exceeds all parameters for post-extinction retaliation scenarios. They have recalled every member of their species from throughout the galaxy and converted them into kinetic ordnance." Maleficus studied the holographic display, showing human fleet positions across local galactic space. Red indicators marked active engagement zones where converted civilian vessels crashed into Vrextai formations with suicidal precision. Each impact was accompanied by detailed casualty broadcasts, forcing his commanders to acknowledge every individual death. "Current human force estimates?" "Variable, sir. New fleets continue arriving from distant systems. Current confirmed vessel count: 7.8 million ships carrying approximately 1.2 billion humans. All vessels have been stripped of non-essential systems and converted to kinetic projectiles. 1.2 billion. Maleficus felt his internal temperature stabilize as understanding crystallized. "They intend complete reciprocal elimination." "Sir?" "Elementary mathematics. Thysian. 10 billion humans died when we sterilized Earth. The total population of the Vrextai Imperium across all territories is approximately 11.3 billion sapients. They're not seeking proportional revenge. They intend to achieve exact mathematical reciprocity. The implications were staggering. In 4 million years, the Vrextai had never faced an enemy willing to sacrifice their entire species to guarantee victory. Every previous conflict had involved civilizations that prioritized survival. The humans had eliminated survival as a consideration, converting their extinction into a weapon that rendered traditional military doctrine meaningless. "Supreme Overlord," his communications officer announced, "incoming transmission from the human fleet." The display shifted to show a human face, female, elderly, with surgical modifications that suggested extensive cybernetic integration. When she spoke, her voice carried the mathematical precision of someone who had replaced all emotion with calculation. "I am Strategic Commander Valen Darkmoor, speaking for the Terra Memorial Collective. Supreme Overlord Gexthane Maleficus, Architect. Of silence, creator of empty worlds, we acknowledge your presence." Maleficus activated his response channel. "Human entity, you command improvised vessels against the supreme military power of galactic civilization. Your mathematical precision cannot overcome our technological supremacy." Darkmoor's expression remained unchanged. "Overlord, 21 months ago, you believed Earth contained a primitive species suitable for routine extinction. Today, 1.2 billion humans pilot ships designed specifically to kill you. We are no longer the species you destroyed. We have become something new, which is the mathematics of retribution made manifest in flesh and metal. We have studied your civilization, analyzed your capabilities, cataloged your vulnerabilities. Most importantly, we have solved the fundamental problem of asymmetric warfare." New tactical data cascaded across Maleficus's displays as human fleets. Throughout known space shifted into coordinated attack formations. Each group targeted specific Vrextai installations with surgical precision, not randomly, but according to carefully calculated strategic priorities. "You cannot possibly possess comprehensive intelligence on our military infrastructure," Maleficus declared. "Overlord, you destroyed 47 civilizations before Earth. We contacted survivors from 38 of those species, scattered refugees, hidden colonies, forgotten outcasts. They provided detailed information on Vrextai tactics, weapons, systems, and strategic doctrine. We know the location of every major installation, its defensive capabilities, and exactly how many people we need to kill to destroy it." Maleficus felt his exoskeleton shift to deep violet, the color of species-threatening alarm. "Impossible! Our post-extinction protocols ensure complete biological elimination. Your protocols are comprehensive but imperfect. There are always survivors, dozens per species, sometimes hundreds. Normally, they remain hidden and eventually die forgotten. But we found them. We contacted them. We gave them purpose." The display shifted to show dozens of alien faces, representatives of species the Vrextai had presumed extinct. Each spoke in their native language, but the translations were identical. "We remember. We remember everything. We will assist in the calculation. The survivors of your previous extinctions are not fighting alongside us," Darkmoor continued. "They lack numerical strength for effective military action. Instead, they have provided something more valuable: complete intelligence on Vrextai civilization. We know how many people inhabit each world, work in each facility, command each vessel. We know exactly how many of you need to die." Maleficus realized with growing horror that the humans had achieved something unprecedented. They had united every species the Vrextai had ever targeted into a single intelligence network. The scattered survivors hadn't been hiding. They had been observing, learning, and waiting for someone with the resources to act on their collective knowledge. "Sir," Thisian reported, "human fleets are simultaneously engaging Vrextai assets in 53 different star systems. They're not prioritizing military installations. They're targeting civilian population centers first. They intend to kill our people, Maleficus breathed. Darkmoor's voice returned. Overlord, you have ruled through the fear of extinction. You believed that complete species elimination was the ultimate weapon. You were mistaken. The ultimate weapon is the willingness to accept your own extinction to guarantee your enemy's destruction. We have achieved what you never could, absolute tactical commitment. We cannot be negotiated with, bribed, or intimidated because we are already dead. We are the ghosts of 10 billion humans, and we have come to balance the ledger. As reports flooded in from across the galaxy, human suicide fleets overwhelming Rextai defenses through pure mathematical persistence, Maleficus realized that his species had finally encountered an enemy they could not comprehend, a civilization that had weaponized its own death and transformed mathematics into systematic genocide. The humans weren't seeking victory, they were seeking balance, and they possessed the numbers to achieve it. Chief Strategic Analyst Vexikirian Shadowmere had spent 15,000 years as the Rextai Imperium's primary tactical calculator, developing mathematical models that predicted the exact requirements for eliminating emerging civilizations before they could threaten galactic stability. Her computational frameworks had successfully forecasted the extinction parameters for 943 different species with 99.8% accuracy. Now, confronting an enemy that had converted mathematics itself into a weapon of mass destruction, she faced the possibility that all her calculations had been fundamentally flawed. Casualty analysis complete, reported her computational assistant, Lix Marin Void Whisper. Current Vrexitae losses across all operational theaters. 3.7 billion sapients confirmed dead, with an estimated 1.2 billion additional casualties pending verification. The humans have achieved a 43.8% population reduction in 11 months of active engagement. Shadowmere studied the holographic casualty projections, her bioluminescent computational organs pulsing with analytical stress. The mathematics were undeniable. At current attrition rates, the Rextai Imperium would face total population collapse within 14 months, not military defeat, complete extinction. Strategic assessment of remaining defensive capabilities? Severely limited, Chief Analyst. The humans have eliminated conventional tactical doctrine as a viable response framework. They don't seek to minimize casualties, control territory, or preserve resources. Their singular objective is mathematical reciprocity. 10 billion Vrextai deaths to compensate for 10 billion human deaths. The display shifted to show human fleet positions throughout known galactic space. Each formation consisted of converted civilian vessels, crewed by families who had volunteered to die in exchange for precise targeting intelligence. The humans had achieved something unprecedented. They had convinced their entire species to participate in coordinated suicide for the sake of mathematical precision. Incoming priority transmission from Supreme Overlord Maleficus, Void Whisper announced. The Supreme Overlord's image appeared, his crystalline exoskeleton dulled with exhaustion. Chief Analyst, I require immediate strategic assessment. Can the Vrextai Imperium survive this conflict? Shadowmere manipulated her computational displays, running probability cascades through multiple scenario matrices. Supreme Overlord, survival depends on our ability to eliminate the remaining human population before they achieve their target casualty count. Current estimates suggest 1.2 billion humans remain active across approximately 7.8 million vessels. Can we destroy them? Affirmative, sir. But the cost analysis is problematic. Shadowmere highlighted her calculations. To eliminate the remaining human fleets, we would need to commit our entire military infrastructure to active combat operations. This would leave our civilian populations completely undefended. The humans have already demonstrated they prioritize non-military targets specifically to maximize casualty counts. Elaborate your assessment. Sir, we can destroy them, but doing so would expose our people to exactly the kind of systematic extermination they're attempting to achieve. We would win the tactical engagement by facilitating their strategic objectives. Maleficus remained silent for several minutes, processing the implications. Finally, alternative strategic options? We have contacted representatives from 67 different species, offering them complete citizenship and military protection in exchange for assistance against the human fleets. All declined participation. Sir, they view this conflict as an opportunity to weaken us, not an obligation to defend us. The political ramifications were devastating. For 4 million years, the Vrextai had maintained galactic control through fear of extinction. Now that they faced extinction themselves, their subject species were choosing observation over intervention. Chief Analyst, Void Whisper interrupted. Incoming transmission from the human fleet. Maximum priority classification. The display shifted to show a human male, young but bearing cybernetic modifications that suggested extensive neural enhancement. His eyes held the weight of calculated determination that transcended individual mortality. I am Operational Commander, Riven Nightfall, speaking for the Terra Memorial Collective. Chief Strategic Analyst, Vex Kyrian Shadowmere, Architect of Systematic Extinction, Designer of Species-Level Mathematics, we acknowledge your computational reputation. Shadowmere activated her response channel. Human entity, your species lacks sufficient population to achieve the casualty ratios you're targeting. Simple mathematics indicates you will exhaust available personnel before reaching stated objectives. Nightfall's expression remained perfectly calm. Chief Analyst, you're operating under false assumptions. We're not limited to the 1.2 billion humans currently piloting attack vessels. Specify. Every human death contributes to our mathematical objective, regardless of circumstances. When you destroy our ships, you're providing the kinetic energy we need to destroy your installations. When you target our civilian populations, you're creating martyrs whose deaths justify additional retaliatory strikes. You have created a scenario where every action you take advances our strategic goals. New data flooded Shadowmere's displays as she realized the true horror of the human strategy. They had eliminated the traditional distinction between military and civilian casualties. Every human death, whether from Vrextai weapons, system failures, or deliberate sacrifice, counted toward their target of 10 billion total losses. They had weaponized their own mortality at the species level. Furthermore, Nightfall continued, we have established comprehensive documentation protocols. Every human who dies in this conflict has been cataloged by name, age, profession, personal, history, and individual dreams. We are not treating this as warfare. We are conducting a complete audit of existence. When we achieve our target of 10 billion Vrextai deaths, we will possess precise records proving mathematical balance. You have achieved tactical insanity, Shadowmere breathed. Chief Analyst, we are extinct. Sanity is no longer a relevant parameter. We have become something unprecedented. The mathematics of retribution made manifest in flesh and metal. We are arithmetic with propulsion systems and targeting computers, and we will balance the equation. As Nightfall's transmission ended, Shadowmere realized that the Vrextai faced an enemy that had solved the fundamental problem of asymmetric warfare. The humans had eliminated all considerations except mathematics, converting their extinction into a weapon that made victory and defeat identical outcomes. They would either achieve their target casualty count or die attempting, and either result satisfied their strategic parameters. For the first time in 15,000 years, Shadowmere's calculations pointed to a single, inescapable conclusion. The Vrextai Imperium faced an enemy they could not defeat, because the enemy had already accepted defeat as victory. The mathematics were perfect, and perfectly terrifying. The last quantum echo from Earth had faded 943 days ago, but the silence still resonated through the void where 10 billion voices had once shared dreams and arguments and the endless beautiful chaos of living consciousness, through neural networks that spanned continents. Now, aboard the command vessel Eternal Remembrance, Fleet Admiral Zephyr Voidheart, one of the original 60,000 humans who had survived Earth's murder, prepared to complete the final calculation of extinction. "Casualty confirmation complete," reported strategic analyst Kyron Shadowbane, her voice carrying the mechanical precision of someone who had replaced all emotion with pure mathematics. Vrexatai losses now total 9,847,293,156 confirmed deaths across all theaters of operation. Remaining requirement for mathematical balance: 152,706,844 additional casualties. Voidheart studied the tactical display showing the final engagement zone. The Vrextai homeworld of Nexus Terminus, where approximately 200 million sapients had gathered in desperate hope that concentrated defenses might preserve some fragment of their civilization. Fleet status: 28,756 operational vessels remaining, carrying approximately 37 million human personnel. All crews have confirmed understanding of final operational parameters. Voidheart activated the fleet-wide communication channel. Across nearly 30,000 ships, the last representatives of humanity listened as their commander delivered the final briefing of a war that had consumed 2 entire species. Memorial Fleet, this is Admiral Voidheart. Today we complete the equation that began 943 days ago, when the Vrextai chose to silence 10 billion human voices. We have traveled across the galaxy, contacted survivors from 38 extinct civilizations, and converted the mathematics of grief into the physics of perfect retribution. The display showed detailed analysis of Nexus Terminus's defenses, orbital, platforms, planetary shields, defense fleets, and the frantic coordination of a species facing absolute extinction. The Vrextai had committed everything to this final stand, understanding that failure meant complete biological termination. Strategic assessment indicates this engagement will result in total human casualties, Voidheart continued. Every ship, every crew member, every passenger will die in the next 7 hours, but our deaths will achieve precise mathematical balance. Exactly 10 billion Vrextai casualties to compensate for exactly 10 billion human casualties. The response came from 28,000 ships simultaneously. Families who had volunteered to die, children who would never reach adulthood, artists whose final works described the mathematics of extinction. We acknowledge, we accept, we remember, we calculate. Intelligence reports from survivor species indicate the Vrextai maintained comprehensive records of their extinction campaigns. Kyron added to the briefing. We have recovered complete databases documenting 947 previous species eliminations. This information has been transmitted to hidden colonies throughout the galaxy, ensuring that knowledge of Vrextai crimes will survive our extinction. Voidheart felt the weight of absolute finality. The human species would end today, but they had achieved something unprecedented. They had proven that extinction could be weaponized, that mathematics could be made manifest in flesh and metal, that 10 billion deaths could be balanced with precision across the ledger of existence. Fleet, prepare for final engagement. Remember, we are not warriors. We are mathematicians. The equation demands solution. The Memorial Fleet advanced toward Nexus Terminus, and the Vrextai's final defenders opened fire with the desperation of a species facing total extinction. Ship after ship vanished in brilliant explosions as human families died with mathematical precision, each loss carefully calculated to maximize strategic impact. But as the engagement progressed, something unprecedented occurred. The surviving species throughout the galaxy, those scattered refugees and hidden colonies that had provided intelligence to the human war effort, began broadcasting synchronized messages. This is the Cathara remnant, survivors of the 23rd. Extinction. We witness the balance. This is the Morveth Memorial Archive, last of our kind. We witness the justice. This is the Zalonian Historical Preserve, keepers of the silenced. We witness the mathematics. Across the galaxy, survivors of 947 extinct civilizations spoke in perfect unison, acknowledging the completion of an equation that had required 943 days to solve. The humans had not simply achieved vengeance. They had created a galactic memorial to every species the Vrextai had ever eliminated. As the last human ships crashed into Nexus Terminus's surface and the final Vrextai population centers fell silent, the universe itself seemed to pause in acknowledgement of perfect mathematical balance. 10 billion human deaths had been answered with 10 billion Vrextai deaths, calculated with precision across space and time. The memorial fleet was gone. Humanity was extinct. The Vrextai Imperium had ceased to exist. But throughout the galaxy, hidden in archives and memorial stations, the survivors of 947